Hello and welcome to Susty in the City. We have Helena here today and Helena Rose Cope. That is your handle, right?
Yes.
Right. Oh my gosh, I feel so underprepared. Yes, it is. Thank God.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to be talking about body image, mental health, alongside like the sustainability side of life and climate anxiety and all that sort of stuff. So I think this is going to be a really fun one. Yes?
Hopefully.
Just to let you know, we will be talking about mental health and body image in this episode, and also eating disorders. For that last one, I am going to be putting little trigger warnings in the chapters just so that it's easy for you guys to avoid them if needed. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I actually started following you around lockdowns, one of them, and you were at home doing food challenges with your brother and all that. But what was your start as an influencer?
I'm a cringy influencer. I'm like, I don't call myself an influencer.
Are you like content creator?
When people ask me, I just say I work on social media. I should really own the influencer title, but last. I started it in 2018.
Okay.
Actually, like a long time ago now. And I actually started it as like the classic fitness to lifestyle.
Oh, really?
Progression. Yeah. So I started it as more of like a fitness and mental health kind of page. And then when I created my YouTube at the end of the year, I started doing all the food challenges and then slowly just mainly became a food challenge kind of page.
And I also knew you for your eyebrows. I felt like they were just so distinctive.
I filled them in earlier today, like just as a slight light brown. So if you don't know me, I have had many different types of eyebrows, like such a journey with my eyebrows, because I've had one brow, I've had two brows, I've had no brows recently, and now I've kind of settled with this two light brow, but that's maybe because I've got blonde hair. But yeah, I do think a lot of people also...
Yeah, I joined your journey like on the one brow stage, and then you like brightened your hair, and now now you've got different brows going on.
Yeah,
like
very
fun.
Experimental with the face. I've never had strong hate online, but when I grew out my eyebrow, so naturally I've got one eyebrow, a lovely gift from my dad, should I say, but I was insecure about this monobrow for like my whole life, and then in lockdown I was like, you know what, I'm just going to grow it out. I think I saw a couple other people on social media with like the one rocking the brow, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the same. And then I got so many people like in my DMs like, I love you, but cut your eyebrows, or I love you, but do this. And I was just like, you know what? This is what's making me grow them more.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I followed you. I was like, oh my God, this girl is fit and she's got like a unibrow, and I love it. I love this energy.
When I first decided, okay, I'm going to grow this out, was because I was sort of kind of starting to begin the transition of two eyebrows to one. So I was like slowly like easing them in, shall we say. And
was that a weird like transition?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, did everyone think like, oh, she's just missing a threading appointment or something?
Well, someone messaged me or commented like, your eyebrows are too close together. And so literally I put on my close friend story the other day after, like, I'm going to grow them completely out now. Yeah. Someone said they're too close together and I'm going to make them one.
Like the Spice Girls, two become one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. As you were just saying though, when it was weird when I first went from 2 to 1. But now, when I've gone from 1 to 2, so weird. Yeah. Like I literally, when I plucked them the other day, because I had like the one bleached brow, when I plucked them and like put them slightly browner, I was like, ew. Not ew, I shouldn't say ew, but I was literally like, Helena, what are you saying? You've got 2 brows. Yeah, very weird. That was such a big tangent for my influencer.
No, it felt very relevant to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
the brows
I tied into.
Yeah, the brows were like a staple, and you know they'll probably come back. She'll probably become a mono again.
I like that you switch it up and all of that.
Just mix it up. I just love it when people get so pressed about it on the internet.
Yeah,
they get so mad about it, and it makes me laugh because I'm like,
would people be madder about like the eyebrow thing than being a vegan on the internet?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I thought so.
Unless you get kind of sucked into like the carnivore YouTube space. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but one of my videos once was taken. I cannot remember what this guy's name, but he was like a diehard carnivore. Not like a normal person eating whatever. It was a carnivore. Like he would eat steak, breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Yes.
And so all of his followers were super...
Carnivores.
Yeah, and he would go and watch vegan YouTube channels and post a video with that person in his video and then tear that person down, critique their vegan diet to like extreme. And this happened to me once because I woke up one day and I just went on my YouTube and all of a sudden I had like literally hundreds of comments and I was like, what the hell? But they were all like, this diet is gonna like kill you, you're an infertile pale woman. Honestly, it was vile but kind of funny. And then they linked me to the video and so then I was watching this video and reading the comments, which I probably shouldn't have done because they were horrible but kind of laughable. But he was like saying, I think I had jam. And he said something like, oh, they're craving jam because it looks like blood. And I was like,
oh my God, what a leap. What a leap.
Honestly. But that was the one time that I had like proper anti-vegan hate.
Yeah, it was all chill. You were just like laughing it off.
Chill because
it was so outrageous.
They were reaching. It was just like, you wouldn't have had that jawline if you hadn't eaten meat when you were growing up. And it was like, what are you saying? Listen to what you're saying. Like, yeah, it was dramatic.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
And that was all on YouTube, right?
That was all on
YouTube,
yeah.
Would you say that's your primary platform? Which platform do you feel most comfortable on, or like is your native one?
I think this varies so much.
Yeah.
Like, I would have said YouTube before, but then the past like year and a half, when my mental health has kind of been like up and down, I kind of fell out of love with YouTube a bit more, just because with YouTube and editing, you'll know, but you have to stare at yourself an unreasonable amount of the time. Like, just so much of my life was taken up of me looking back at myself, and because TikTok is just 15-second or a minute video, you don't have to do much editing, it's fine. And same with Instagram, obviously taking pictures, but it was never really a self-destructive. Whereas on YouTube, I would very much get very self-destructive the past like year and a half. So then I would say like Instagram has probably become more of my like main platform, really, on TikTok. But I'm kind of falling back in love with YouTube now. Like, I'm getting back.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to say, like, as someone who doesn't really have like really body image issues, I've definitely gotten to that point as a creator before where I'm just like, I'm sick of seeing my fucking face everywhere. Like, because sometimes you see yourself more than you see anyone else in your life. Yeah, and you're like, this isn't good.
Yeah. And if you've got a healthy relationship with it, it's fine. But I was definitely getting to the point where I was like, I mean, bless my flatmates, I would be editing. And I think the problem was for me is because my channel and kind of everything that I represent is being positive, having like food freedom and then also positive body image. They're two of like my core pillars, shall I say. So what I found really difficult was because I almost felt like I was preaching one thing, love yourself, but obviously I wasn't being that basic about it, but I was being like, everyone needs to come for self-acceptance and things like that. But then behind scenes, I was like having these actual breakdowns behind like my editing footage, being like going to my flatmates like, I cannot look at myself. Another tangent, but I suffer with something called body dysmorphic disorder. Okay. Which is kind of why it's so difficult for me to look at myself so much. So if anyone doesn't know what body dysmorphia is, it is where you kind of oversee like a certain flaw, or you perceive something very differently to how other people perceive them. And that can be skin, it can be your body, it can be your face, it can be loads of different things. It's very challenging for people like to live day-to-day life with it, but let alone someone that has to look at themselves all the time. And so I started therapy for that at the beginning of this year. And my therapist would always be like, yes, it is a bit of a challenge. You know, a lot of the like behaviors people would do is like mirror checking and like looking at themselves is like safety behavior. So a lot of people with body dysmorphia will go back to the mirror and keep looking at it to see if that thing that they perceive is still horrible or whatever. And normally in therapy, you want to stop doing that. I was definitely looking in the mirror way less, but because I'd have to upload a video, I would have to go to my computer and be like, right, I've got to look at myself. And then I'd start to like self-destruct and I'd be like, I have to go for a walk and then come back to the video.
Oh, that must have been so tough.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely why I fell out of love with YouTube, for sure.
And I noticed that a lot of your like TikToks and Instagrams earlier this year wouldn't always necessarily have that much of yourself in them. You had like a video of like strangers, didn't you? I feel like you had a Love Actually quote. Is that
potentially? Yeah, it was the
you find love in
if you look for it.
Yeah, that quote, and that one was just strangers, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was very feel good content.
Yeah, that is something that I like to do as well. But yeah, you're right. Like I think I was trying to find ways of making nice content without it being focused on my face. More of like strangers and food and everyday life, like things that make me smile but aren't directly me. It was beneficial for my brain, for sure.
Yeah. At what point in your influence journey did you kind of make the decision that you wanted to make other people smile? Because like if I think about your account, I literally think that's kind of what you do.
Yeah.
You're like, come on guys, let's smile together today. What are we smiling about?
I think that's kind of been like a running pillar throughout. It's just become a bit more present this year. But even back in 2018, although I was mainly like a fitness page, there was still like the underlying mental health throughout there. And I've always been very open, let's say, about my either past mental health struggles or my present or whatever. And so I would say it's been a running theme, but definitely probably since like COVID, I think I just decided to talk more to the people that follow me, because I have such a gorgeous, like lovely community. There's just so many people that will DM me regularly that I know almost now because they've been following me for ages and like I feel like I know them. I kind of wanted to talk to more people directly. So then it was just basically like, I just decided to ask people questions. One day it would be like, oh, what are you having for dinner? Blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, what are you smiling about? And I got so many replies. And then it just kind of became a daily, weekly thing. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't do it now, people get a DM like, where is the what you smiling about today? Or people just randomly message me happy things, which I like too.
That's quite cute.
Yeah, even if I haven't put anything up, people will message me being like, "Hello, Helena, I passed this exam today," or "I got my period back because I'm struggling with blah, blah, blah."
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
So that must be nicer to receive then. Hey, where's
Yeah,
daily content?
Yeah, I know.
It's lovely that you give people the opportunity to like why they're smiling, but you don't want to feel obliged to.
Kind of takes
do it.
away the specialness of
Yeah.
it if it is like a constantly day thing.
Yeah, it does actually feel like a lottery as like a follower of yours. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to get there in like the first like hour or two? Am I going to get a chance of getting on the spread of reasons people are smiling?
People always message me afterwards like, yeah, I got on today or not. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I wish I could put everyone on it, but there's just so many people.
No, it makes it more special. Like, I'd rather try like 5 times and then get on it once and then I'm like, oh, yay! You know? I'm like, oh, made it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's what I like about it as well is because a lot of the time people DM me only those things, right? So then when I'll go and look at the DMs, or people come to DM me like something they smile about, they'll be where they've previously messaged me, so there'll be like 10 or 11 different what they're smiling about today's, and I just like, I think if they scroll up and read those, there's
so
like
sweet.
random days of the year that they've replied and been like, I'm smiling about this. So if they are feeling down, they can go back into their DMs.
This is the cutest thing I've ever heard. My God, I had no idea. Like, I didn't even connect that. I feel like I'm tearing up a bit, actually. I think maybe it's just the lights. I don't know. Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, it's nice.
No, I think it must just be so complicated when you're in, well, even just in present life, lots of things are kind of miserable right now.
For real, yeah.
And even in the content you do, when you are talking about like having trouble with your mental health and trying to keep that upbeat without being phony about it. So I love how you are just so honest, but you weave that in with, well, let's get a bit chipper, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's a hard line to cross. You don't want to be toxically positive and be like, oh, I'm happy all the time, or there's nothing bad in the world. Like, talk about what you're smiling about today. Stop being sad, because that is obviously just like, that's going to put people off.
Stop being sad. It's always like the advice,
stop being
isn't it?
sad. It's like when you're like really anxious and someone will be like, just don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't think about
like,
it.
Oh my God, you don't understand my brain right now. Like, literally. That's my least favourite kind of like influencer. Okay, no, that's a bit of a stretch, but
there are so many awful influencers. Let's not like quickly and hastily put one up
these people are
top.
trying.
You're like, there are still the fast fashion bitches, you know, like, let's not give them a free pass.
The toxic positivity is not a great influence, I don't think. But I know for me, it's definitely something that I struggle with, because when you put like questions up on your Instagram and you're like, oh, ask me a question, whatever, there'll always be a question that's like, how are you so happy all the time? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying so hard to, yes, bring you positivity and be a safe space and not be a negative space, and be a space that people can come to and feel like a breath of fresh air and like feel calmed and feel like there is something to smile about. So I try to do that, but also trying to show the honest side of actually, you know, I've been in therapy a lot over the past like 2-3 years, and it's something that I am struggling with and I have struggled with, but it's really hard. I feel like people are always going to have a certain perception of you, and that's what I've realised over the time.
And you can't control that. And I don't think
exactly.
You should feel...
No, you definitely can't. Because I try and be honest, and I don't want to be that toxic positivity. When I see the messages that are like, how are you so happy all the time? I literally like, oh no, I'm like, I swear I'm not. Like,
I don't think they're watching close enough, because I never get that impression from you.
I don't want people to think I'm happy all the time, because I don't want to be like that toxic positive person. On the one hand, I want to show people that, you can live life recovered from a mental illness, and also with a mental illness, that you can still live with these things. But it's definitely something I've struggled so much, like being positive, but not being too positive.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I think you toe the balance very well.
Yeah.
And then, like, amongst all that, one of the reasons I found you, I think, was through veganism, like all the food video. Yeah, vegan to vegan. So it would be all the food videos on YouTube. And then I, like, got drawn in by your personality. And then I was like, and then I started watching the mental health stuff, because I don't really consume that content personally. And I really enjoy it when you talk about it. And I'm like, oh, it's a nice, like, window into seeing what that life's like, especially if I've got any friends who kind of experience what you experience. And it's just nice to... I just also want to, I don't know, follow and check in and see that you're doing all right. I'm like, oh, she's dyeing her hair again. And, you know, like all the fun
stuff. She's not all right.
No, I mean...
Her eyebrows are gone. What's happened?
It's a bit of a roller coaster, but you seem to always be, you know, fine.
Yeah.
It's just how you cope.
Yeah, pardon the pun.
Yeah, thank you. I thought that went over your head then. I'm like, what's her surname?
That would never, honestly. My teachers used to be like, oh, Helena can't cope. Heard that one before. You can't remember what I was saying. You threw me off with the cope. What was I saying?
Hair transformations, eyebrow transformations, all that
Oh,
That
yeah. I was
malarkey.
going to come back to what, like, I guess my niche is on YouTube, because a lot of it would say mental health. But whenever I, like, struggle with, God, what am I doing? Like, oh, I want to be this good influence, or I want to have a purpose. Whenever my poor manager gets me every, like, 2 weeks being like, Chloe, I don't have a purpose. Like, I need to be better. Blah, blah. I think because sometimes I am just showing my life, I can feel like that's not enough, like, in terms of doing good, because I have this bloody annoying need to be there for every single person ever. And if I feel like I've done one thing wrong, then gosh, that's me over.
That's a big pressure to put on yourself when you're an influencer, because not only are you like touching a lot of people's lives, but they have the open communication with you as well.
And also people are never going to agree with every single thing you do.
Exactly.
Another tangent, but I saw your TikTok you did the other day about buying leather coat.
Oh yeah, I saw you followed me on TikTok. I was like, oh hello.
Well, you popped up and I was like, oh, why did I follow her? Yeah, and because I've had the exact same moral debate in my head about, oh, can I buy like secondhand leather, or do I have to buy a first-hand like fake leather? But then I was like, okay, it feels weird buying the secondhand leather because it's leather. It does come from an animal, but my head is telling me that if I buy a first-hand vegan leather something, this is going to have impacted more people negatively than buying the secondhand leather. But the reason I bring it up is because, as you're saying, like, people are always going to find kind of issues, I guess, with what you're doing. But also, people aren't going to agree with everything.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to have your own morals, and you're allowed to have your own ethics. Like, just because a certain vegan doesn't do that doesn't mean it's not vegan.
Yeah, I am trying to do a bit more content, which is kind of allowing vegans to kind of admit their imperfect veganism stuff. How long have you been vegan for?
Like 8 years?
8 years, yeah. So you've definitely been through the era where like there was vegan police, and it felt like, you know, like one slip up and you're out the club, like slaughtered online and all that. Whereas now I think we have moved into a bit more of a space where it's like, we just want people to get as vegan as they can. So for some people that will be 80%, some people might be 30%, and other people 100%, minus the odd secondhand leather coat.
Yeah.
Like, I'd definitely consider myself a 100% vegan. Yeah. But then it's okay. Like, oh, I found a secondhand coat made of leather at a car boot sale, and I was like, oh, I'll buy that. I actually did loop round. I was like, okay, if it's still there when I get back, that was my rationalization.
Well, so I had a similar, this was like, must have been a couple months ago. I found this gorgeous leather coat. It was a charity shop, obviously, for like £10. I tried it on and I was like, this is so perfect. But I had the biggest moral debate in my head about whether or not to get it. And I circled around. In the end, I didn't get it. And I was so mad at myself because I was kind of rationalizing it with my flatmate, and I was trying to work out, like, am I not getting it because I have followers and because people are going to see that and be like, oh, why is she wearing leather? Or am I actually not getting it because it aligns with my morals? And I feel like that's the difficult thing with social media is you forget what your beliefs are, in a sense, because you're like fed to believe like if you don't do something right, then you're wrong. And I think that is like the issue with really not diehard vegans, because I think you're weird. Like being vegan is like, whoa, diehard vegan. But people that try and critique other people for doing things slightly wrong. I think that's.
I mean, I get mad if I see misinformation. I don't know, like if I see a vegan like promoting a beauty brand, obviously as me, I'm like looking out at it. But if I see someone promoting a beauty brand, I'm like, that's not vegan or cruelty free, or it's not one or the other. I'm like, that just because it's like that doesn't, unless you're telling your audience, oh, this isn't quite vegan and cruelty free, but you've got like vegan in your bio. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sit right with me. But
definitely not, especially when it's like an ad as well.
I know, right? It's like, okay. I mean, get your coin, but get it ethically. Come on. So I find that quite interesting on that tangent. But again, it's all about transparency. So like if you were to buy some secondhand leather, you'd have a conversation. And I think that's the best you can do, is open the conversations and facilitate that, especially for the people who don't have vegan friends in real life, and they can kind of have that chat and talk it through.
Yeah, the longer I've been vegan, the more, not lenient, because I'm still the exact same vegan as I was, but I'm less tacky at myself if I like mess up. Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure, but I'm not like, oh, that veganism's done. A couple months ago, I accidentally ate half a mayonnaise jar. Half real mayonnaise before realising. And it's because we had a vegan one and a non-vegan one in the fridge.
Oh, was it Hellman's?
And the non-vegan one just had a V for vegetarian, but I obviously didn't pay attention. So I like picked it up and I was like eating it. And this is like a couple weeks I was eating this. And then my flatmate, who's also vegan, was like, said something about the vegan, and I just vegan, the mayo, and I passed it to her, and she was like, Helena, that's not vegan. And I was like, yes it is. I looked at it and I was like, oh my god, it is half empty. Oh my god, and I'd eaten this like half of this mayo. Oh god. And I was like,
that quite
okay.
traumatic, or are you just
well,
like...
I kind of laughed a bit because I was like, how have you done that? Like fuck, like, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. I was literally like, for goodness sake. But yeah, then it was fine. You know, it happened.
Well, it just goes to show how good a dupe the vegan mayo is from Helena.
I had no idea. Honestly, I probably would have finished it before I realised.
You probably would never have known.
I know, honestly.
You'd go into the store, buy the vegan one next and be like, oh, they changed the design. How funny.
Oh, it's just because I had a vegan.
Bless you.
It really did throw me off.
I don't think I've knowingly done that, but like, this is it. Like, you only notice if you notice. I'm sure I probably have like slipped up and just been unaware.
Yeah. It's so easy to, well, it's not easy to buy the wrong mayo, that's for sure. That was definitely a moment for me.
Did you share that online or did I miss that?
I didn't share that online.
Oh, exclusive.
Yeah. Gosh, fake vegan.
Oh my God. You're out the club.
No, for real. Yeah, I didn't share that online because I was like, ooh, how are people gonna find that funny? I mean, I find it funny, but you know, some people will be like, no, how dare you? It's an accident.
Yes. Over 2 months.
Honestly.
No, it
was living
sounds like it could happen.
No, it couldn't for most people. I don't know how the hell I did it.
Well,
I just love mayo.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
No, I know. Oh my gosh, I know.
I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah, sorry, I threw everything off with my mayonnaise.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Okay, on tangent of like the whole vegan thing, are a lot of your followers vegan? Do you ever like do an Instagram poll? Or are they mostly mental health?
I think there's definitely more vegans than the average population.
Oh, yeah.
I think it depends where people come from, like in terms of what platform, because I had quite a lot of people coming from TikTok, and that's more of like mental health or people watching space. But like a lot of my, like, I say vocal, but a lot of my like followers that I have like conversations with, like the people that have been following me for ages, come from YouTube, and I think a lot of them are vegan.
When you do talk about veganism, do you want to like outwardly promote it? I feel like it's very subtle when you do it.
Yeah, like I personally have to not be careful, but because my content is very mental health based, there's a lot of like eating disorder awareness content in there, because I'm aware that quite a lot of my followers either have had eating disorders, are going through recovery, or have struggled with eating and their body image and stuff. I'm very aware of that. And so I never ever, I mean, even without that, I would never ever want to be like forcing.
Yeah.
It's not really forcing something, but like I would never want to make people feel bad for not being vegan, because I know a lot of people within that community can't go vegan.
Yeah, it's restrictive, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
At the end of the day, it may not feel it to you and I, but for some people, it feels very restrictive.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I mean, now more than ever, you can get so much vegan options. Be like, even if it just feels slightly restrictive to someone, I would be like, don't do it. People always like say that to me because they think, it's kind of like that question, like, do you think people should go vegan in recovery? And it's such a nuanced
question.
And
no one's the same.
Yeah, exactly. And when I was in recovery from my eating disorder, my teenagers, that's when I went vegan. And, you know, I had to talk to my dietitian about it. And I was vegetarian beforehand and I was lactose intolerant. So it was mainly just giving up eggs.
Yeah.
And I kind of like had like a strong conversation with my dietitian at the time. And it had to be like, okay, you can go vegan if you like kind of replace everything. Like, you know, you're not switching from like a meat to like a chickpea. You're switching from a meat to a meat alternative.
Okay.
You're switching mayo to another mayo.
If you choose to.
God, mayo-gate.
Sorry, I'll let you go on.
But for some people, obviously, it can still feel restrictive. But I know a lot of people within that community have like come to me and said things like, when they're at home and they can make themselves vegan meals, they will eat majority vegan. But if they go out and there's not like vegan options,
or if you go on holiday, I imagine that must be
restrictive.
Yeah.
And like for me, I'll eat chips. I'll eat before I like.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're the same. Chips and salad or something. That's the only vegan option they have at like the buffet
dish. Yeah.
Like that's fine for me because I have a good relationship with food and I'll eat as much as I want to. And although I'm not getting all my nutrients in,
it's okay for one meal.
Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
It? Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that would be restrictive. So like they'll eat vegan at home, but like if they're going out, it's not something they prioritize. And I think like personally for me, that's like the best way I can recommend doing it. Because then also you don't damage your relationship with veganism too. And I think a lot of people, if you're talking like old school vegan like YouTube community, a lot of the people that were following those diets are no longer vegan because they all did like
they were wild diets, weren't they? Like
high mango diet or something. It would be like
banana.
Yeah, very high fruit, very like low anything else. And now a lot of them have come off veganism when they start
and
eating
done their
fish or
famous
something.
videos where it's like,
well,
I'm no longer vegan.
Yeah, gosh, get a career. For me, if you follow a restrictive vegan diet or you have a negative relationship with food, you shouldn't go vegan until like you're out of that. Because it just damages your relationship with vegan. Like with vegan?
With veganism.
With veganism. Yeah. You can go vegan at any time in your life. Like,
I remember finding that period very confusing though. I was just like, I don't know, I was sat at home in the UK and watching everyone just eating like smoothie bowls for breakfast and bananas for lunch and doing raw till 4. I was just like looking at my life and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, ew. Like,
no, literally. It's so expensive as well. Like, those mangoes like £2 and they'll eat like 10 of them for breakfast. And I'm like, girl, how are you doing that?
Exactly. It baffled me. It's like, I'll just stick to my beans on toast.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you're probably the only one that's still vegan. So they're probably not. For real.
But then I think it damaged veganism a lot as well, because like everyone was looking at it being like, vegans eat weird stuff. Yeah. Like, they just eat fruit. And it's like, I see where you get this impression from. Like,
literally, like, they took over YouTube as well back in the day. Like, those high carb.
Yeah.
And like,
a lot of them Australian as well.
Oil was like the worst thing you could possibly eat.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, it's not.
Yeah, I love oil.
Put oil on everything. Oil is not the devil, but they made it seem like it was the devil. But what I always say to people, like, in terms of like my audience particularly, in my opinion, you only have like, well, hopefully you have like one period in your life where you're going to try and overcome like an eating disorder or something. Let's say that you only have this point of your life to do that recovery, but you have any time in your life to go vegan. So it's so much better that you focus on your recovery now and then try and be vegan in the future if you can. Because if you go vegan, then you're either going to prolong your recovery because it's going to make you feel restrictive, or you're just going to hate veganism and never want to do it again. Yeah,
that's good advice then.
Yeah. What can I say?
Yeah.
What can I say?
But no, it's so important to be one of those people out there just being like, put health first, because again, there are some vegans who are very anti-medicine because it's not technically vegan, because it's, you know, like animal testing on medicine, and like sometimes medicine just will have ingredients that are non-vegan. And it's like,
absolutely.
Well, that's the world we live in, and we, you know, health, it always comes first, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was ill a couple years ago. I can't remember. I was just ill somehow.
Was it COVID? I don't know.
No, it wasn't COVID, but I think I had to go on antibiotics.
Okay.
A kidney infection. I had a really bad infection. Ooh. And my antibiotics weren't vegan, or my antidepressants also aren't vegan. Yeah. And I take them every day.
I don't think my pill, like the pill.
Exactly. And it's like,
vegan.
There's only so much you can do. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice my health, and I needed to take those antibiotics. I need to take my antidepressants for the sake of veganism. Like, we don't live in a vegan world. Like, it's impossible.
Not yet. We're getting there.
Not yet, yeah. And that's also coming back to like why I don't think you should be hard on yourself, because no one is like 100% able to be vegan in this life unless they're
in the woods.
I don't know, in Australia with lots of money. I don't know.
And all the bananas and mango.
Yeah, for real.
On the branch of like mental health and stuff, are you someone who suffers with climate anxiety, like climate crisis anxiety? Is that how we phrase it?
Climate anxiety? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not both of me and you going to that like TED Talks.
Climate.
We're both like, what's the word?
Yeah. So we both recently went to a YouTube hosted like TED Talks event all about the climate crisis and how to integrate it more into our content, really, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was actually very fun.
It was fun. It was a busy few days. Like, it was so busy, but it was really fun. I would definitely say yes. Like, I do get a bit existential as well. Like, I'm a bit of like a person that if I think about one thing, I would just like get into like a really bad hole with it. And so like,
I don't have the attention span for that. I think that's it. I just get distracted.
Mine just like latches onto one thing. It's like, everything in the world is bad. It just spirals down. Didn't they say in that event that like, I'm going to butcher this, but it's like 80 or 90% of the younger generation like worry about climate more than everything else? Like, that's like the number one. To
be honest, I feel like it is my biggest concern for the world, but
100%, especially nowadays, like when you can't, I would never suggest turning a blind eye to it, but you can't turn a blind eye. Even if you wanted to, you can't turn a blind eye for it anymore because it's all over the news and the weather is crazy. And like
globally,
it's definitely something that stresses me out. But I think the issue I have with it is because, not with the climate, but with just climate anxiety as well. The reason I don't think about it as much as I probably should is because like my anxiety is just already thinking about so many other things.
Well, I don't think it helps to even get anxious about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can just spiral and you're like, I'm trying. I think we do a good job, and you definitely do a great job. If we were to start getting super stressed about it, then what good influence are we going to do?
There are a few accounts online that will share good news stories, and I think it's so important for us to hear and read these good news stories, these climate wins, because like, although you have to be aware of the bad stuff that's happening, if you only hear about that, you lose all hope, and without hope, like we are doomed. So I think it's good to have the hope, and when you see successes happening, then you are more likely to envision future successes, and that's how we get out of this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I get anxious about and then have to like immediately kind of look away, which is not a good thing to do, obviously. But
then again, like if you feel it and you're like, I want to do something, then I think you seeing the bad news, it's done its job on you, because you're not a politician or like a billionaire, someone who has the power to really like change things.
Yeah, so it's even more frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, for God's sake, like, let me do something.
Yeah.
Give me $1 billion and I'll be saving everyone.
But you are doing like bits in your own way, and especially like you never know who your videos come across. Like you and I both had videos that hit like over 1 million views, and like sometimes you'll see someone who's like semi-famous or even famous will Jedward, for example. I once saw one of my videos and started following me.
No way.
I know. So like I'm not saying they're the ones that are going to save the world, as much as that would be a great plot twist.
I see that for them, to be honest.
Yeah, you just never know who's viewing your videos and who you're going to influence. So especially on TikTok, it's the Wild West. So
oh God, yeah.
If someone just sees one of your videos and it makes them feel like, I don't know, maybe I'll eat more vegan food and I really need to work on changing the world, your influence is like infinite.
Yeah, and I agree. And I also think that's why it's almost nice to kind of like weave it into the content as well, rather than it being like a full big pillar, because I think people as well, if I was starting to sit down and talk about like how I actually feel about the climate crisis, or like even just about it, people would be like, well, no, turn away, or like they wouldn't like pay attention. But if you kind of like lead by example or whatever, then people will actually be like, oh, it's actually easy to do X, Y, and Z. Or I think a lot of people have gone to charity shops because I said I buy all my stuff from charity shops. And
you dress great. And I'm like, oh, damn it, I want to wear more of what she wears. And it's like, well, I guess I got to go to a charity shop. Yeah, and people always ask me like, what like my favourite shops and stuff. And I'm always like, oh, charity shops. Like Scope, Oxfam.
Yeah, literally. So I hope that by just doing those tiny things that's like how I can help. But I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like because I do talk more about like veganism and buying secondhand and things like that, people are more willing to attack people that are trying. I don't know if you get that, but like I recently went on holiday and I've been on a lot of holidays this year, which I appreciate. Is horrendous for the environment. It's shocking. I definitely shouldn't have gone away so many times, but I haven't been away since 2019. You know, girls got to live. Like, I'm done now. I've got no money left. I'm not going away ever again.
I mean, that's one of those things which a lot of people, I think, struggle with, is like when you hear about things you can do personally as an individual, it is like you can go vegan or fly less or stop flying. And I'm like, well, I picked one.
Yeah,
like,
no,
And
exactly.
then, let me wiggle around on the second one. But especially living in the UK, mental health-wise, you got to get out of here.
Exactly, and like,
come on,
just
it's shit, innit?
You've got to take the wins. But yeah, someone commented on my video saying like that I was being a bad influence or something because I'd just gone on holiday, and I was like, you know what? I'm trying. Like, I'm not perfect. I've never said that I'm perfect. Definitely. Maybe I shouldn't have flown as much as I did this year.
I think it's nice to admit that though, like, because sometimes I watch influencers who get attacked with that and they get very defensive. I'm like watching them being like, be a bit more honest about it. Just be like, you're right, that is wrong. Sometimes it's like, I've got family and I'm sorry, like that's a priority or whatever. Just like be open and honest about it.
Absolutely. And I also feel a bit like, I can admit when I maybe shouldn't have flown as much, for sure, but then I will prioritize myself at some points when it's needed. I think if you live your entire life like for this climate crisis, then I think I would personally just wear myself down. Although it's something I truly care about, I've also kind of got to put my mental health first. And I'm not saying that I have to go on holiday for my mental health. But
if we have a bad summer, I feel like I need to.
I mean, I definitely, it's just because this year I went away so much because it was the first year that you could properly go away. And so I went a little bit crazy with it. But now, I won't as much. But it is, I don't know, I find it a bit like disheartening when people kind of try and call you out on things. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I can accept that. You know, maybe I shouldn't have eaten half that tub of mayo. Or I shouldn't have gone away. But I'm still trying to do my best. And I've never said that I'm perfect. Go and target the people who are doing the big Shein hauls or doing all these other things that I'm not doing. It's like, because you're trying even a little bit, people are like, actually, you should be trying more. You should be doing more.
It is very frustrating. And I feel like there are different ways of approaching it as well. Like sometimes 100%. You'll have people comment like, do you worry about flying so much? Or, like, actually, you can tell when someone's coming from a sincere, like, I want to discuss this because it's something I struggle with as well, versus someone who's like literally just trying to point you out and be like, you're evil, you're horrible. Yeah. They're just attacking you. They don't want to have a conversation. They just want to be mean.
I mean, to be honest, this person probably was just having a nice conversation. No, but I basically, I take, as I said earlier, I take everything. Like, I want to have the best influence possible. And if I feel like I've negatively impacted someone, that will literally ruin my day more than like if someone hurt me. If I hurt someone else, I'm like, that's my day. That's my week over. I really try not to do anything that would harm other people, and I didn't even think about.
Well, I don't think you harmed them.
No, I didn't harm anyone, but
you're
it was just like someone saying that I'm like not being a bad influence, but not being the best. I was like, oh my God, people go on holiday so much more than me. Please.
Yeah. I mean,
people,
hate's gonna hate.
People shop everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
People aren't vegan. Like, and it was just like they were like ticking things off, and it was just like, oh.
Yeah, it's like a performance review, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know, for real. And I was like, please, I swear, I'm trying. I'm trying hard.
I've only been on like one holiday which required a flight this year, and I got a question about it. And I'm like, I don't drive. Like, I get public transport everywhere. I'm vegan.
Yeah.
Like, I live in a house share. Like, as far as like a UK person, I feel like I must be very in the top 10%, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm like flexing too much, and I do one of these calculators and it might not be. Yeah, I'm just like, and then I got one flight. Like, no, I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm like, whatever.
I think it's because I went to America twice.
Oh, you went to when we
were young. Yeah.
How was that?
It was good.
Yeah, for context, it was like 2006 emo on stage in the US. Yeah. Oh my God. And Jared, did you watch MCR?
Yeah.
And he came out in the revenge outfit, didn't he?
And they were like old.
Okay, so you didn't love that.
Yeah, no, I did love it, but I was just like so confused. When
that was my favourite era. I would have gone crazy if I saw Jared Way like that.
So good. But I don't know if you heard, but the first day was cancelled.
Oh, I did see.
Yeah, so when we got there, luckily we had booked the Sunday, but like 2 days before we were like, oh, I wish we'd booked the Saturday day, because like the first day, everyone's going to be on good form. And then me and my sister Rosanna were getting ready for our day in Vegas, and I was just like, and she was like, what's happened? Like, who's died? Like, are you okay? And I was like, Rosanna, they've cancelled the festival today. And she was like, what the fuck?
But it was safety issues, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was windy. Like, it was, it sounds so silly. Like, they cancelled because of wind. But no, it was windy.
Yeah.
Like, we were being blown away from Vegas Boulevard. It was really sad because on that day, we were in Vegas and there was like 80,000 emo-looking people in the streets of Vegas, like just kind of looking sad. So it's just like probably a scene that's never been seen in Vegas before, because everyone was wearing black and everyone looked really cool. It's just not what Vegas was like. But we were just like looking at people, sad emo, Sammy Dub. We had the festival tickets for the day after, so we were fine. But I mean, yeah, I felt bad for everyone, because obviously some people had spent like, I mean, me and my sister, we went out the week before and like spent the good time in Vegas. But the reason we went to America was to see this festival, so I can't imagine the amount of people that spent so much money on it.
I feel like even as you're telling me this, when you bring the context into it sounds like obviously flying is not the most eco thing, but you're traveling for something really special. Like that festival looked like a once in a lifetime thing. I'm 100%. So jealous.
It was busy as fuck though.
Yeah, and then
so many people,
and you prolonged it as well. You were like, we're going to make a proper holiday out of it. You're not like, we're flying over for a couple of days and
we got a coach from LA to Vegas and back, which was like 6 hours rather than flying.
Oh my god,
mainly because it was so much cheaper. But
you can do the climate flex.
Exactly. I got a coach, so
I actually think that's one of the big issues with encouraging people to do more eco travel as well in this country. It's actually often cheaper to fly than get the train.
Oh my god, so much cheaper to fly than the train. The trains in the UK are rank. They're rank. Sorry, they are rank. We're living in a cost energy crisis, and I still have to get the train that costs like 80 quid.
It's ridiculous how much it costs for what you get. Yeah.
Dead ass.
Do you have a rail card?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
even then, I'm telling you.
I was just double checking. I was like, well, by the way.
Third off, still. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm complaining. I never really get the train anywhere. I like stay in London, but still.
It's also whenever you talk about like flying to, like going to Glasgow, it's often cheaper to fly. Amsterdam, cheaper to fly.
100%.
Paris often as well. It's just really frustrating. It's like, why is this cheaper?
Yeah.
Like, we're in a climate crisis. Right. What equations are you doing that makes this the cheaper option? It just doesn't make sense.
Well.
Yeah.
If you've got time.
Not always. I don't know. It depends where you're going and where you're coming from. But I always think people forget about the time it takes to get to the airport and go through all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got the Eurostar to Paris this year, I was like, I'm going to try.
I got the Eurostar to Paris this year.
Yeah. Well
it was actually so enjoyable.
Really?
Well, I was on business class.
Oh my god, I got a free upgrade.
Did you?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, the train guard. I think like I asked him to like film me, and then he was like, "Are you sitting in here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Come on, I'll get you an upgrade." And I was like, "Thank you."
Influencer upgrade.
Well, that's what I thought. But then when we got out at the end, he like asked me out, and I was like, "This wasn't an influencer thing."
You told me this. Sorry,
it's one of my biggest flexes. It's my great achievement of this year. This is my best upgrade. Yeah. Ow. So you actually just paid for it, or was it gifted?
I was there on a trip.
Oh.
Paris for a hotel.
Oh, I remember. I got so jealous. There were quite a few influencers out in Paris, and I was like,
it was my first ever like brand trip. So I was like, when my manager told me, I was like, why do they want me? Like, what the heck?
I wouldn't double check. I'd be like, cool, I'll be there.
I know, literally.
No whys,
but
no
it's because
but.
I was with people that like they were all fashion heavy and I wasn't really. So I was like,
you dress great.
How am I? Thank you. I was like, how do I fit this bill though? Because like all these people are like amazing and cool, and I was just like on the edge, like, hello. Yes, I'm coming too. I'm the one with the loud laugh. Like,
oh, that's so cute though. Oh, I did get so jealous.
Yeah. It was fun, to be fair. It was my first time in Paris. I swear I was begging every ex-boyfriend I've ever had. I say that like I've had many. I've had 2. One of them, French, never went to Paris. Never took me to Paris. So I took myself. Well, actually, the brand took me, but that was it.
Oh my God, this is what I did this year because I was the same. You know, like whenever you're with a guy and they're like, so if I were to ever do something special for you, what would you like? I'm like, I'd love to go to Paris.
Yeah.
And even when I broke up with my ex, like as we were breaking up, he was like, I never took you to Paris. I'm like, yeah, I fucking know. Yeah. Maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. No, that's not true, but still. So I took myself to Paris this year.
You should.
Yeah.
I am.
No brands even took me. I was like, no boys, no brands. I actually have to take myself. This is ludicrous.
Fuming. When me and my ex broke up years ago, and I'd always begged him to take me to Paris. We broke up like the day before my best friend's birthday, who I live with. Who's Sophie? Corner the Corb?
Oh, vaguely.
But anyway, it was her bloody birthday weekend, and me and my boyfriend just got broken up. I'm crying. Day after, her boyfriend surprised her.
Oh,
a trip to Paris. So they wake up at like 4 a.m. and just hop on to Paris. And I'm
she
there, like,
couldn't even keep it secret from you because you live together.
We live together, and she's like, "Hello, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to Paris with my boyfriend, the love of my life."
Have a great time.
Eventually, so.
Sorry, I spoke over Helena here, but she said that they broke up eventually.
Not Paris related.
The glee on your face. Oh my God. But there is something about Paris that's so magical, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just mainly because I've always wanted to go and I had never been. People always be like, "Oh, it's not as good when you get there." Which,
it's so good.
Yeah, but I liked it.
I loved it. Yeah. Did your one end up feeling like a solo trip, or are you hanging out with all the like new friends you're making?
Hanging out with all the new friends, yeah. It was really nice actually because I've always considered myself quite a socially anxious person, but when I am like forced to socialise, then I think I do a pretty good job. But like on the first day when we were like all getting the train, it was like 5 a.m. as well, so no one was ready to speak, and I was just like sat talking to the PR lady. Is a horrible way to do her. She has a name. Just can't remember it now. I was sitting next to her, like kind of vaguely chatting, and like we all kind of like went our separate ways, like immediately because like I had to nap and stuff. But like by the end, like me and there was like a group of like 5 of us. We were like, having these weird personal jokes. We all got drunk the night before, which is where all the jokes came from. But it was just so cute. Like we shuffled ourselves around so we could all sit together when we were leaving. So cute. I only met them for 2 days. I've since seen them, but it was just like by the end you were like best of friends.
That's so cute.
This is a PSA to put yourself out there. Yeah, you never know.
You do a lot of like solo dining, solo dating, or this like dating yourself. Yeah. Solo dating sounds weird, doesn't it? I don't even know what that sounds like. But you do like, I think you kind of like influenced me to like date myself. I'd already be going to restaurants by myself, but I didn't feel like I was treating myself. I just felt like I don't know what I thought I was doing. But then after I saw that, I was like, nah, it feels more special now.
Yeah, I'd like dress up and like take myself out for a proper meal. I think I was like working myself up because it's so easy to just sit in a cafe and easy. That's the easiest step for me. If you want to take yourself out for a day, I'd recommend just like going to like a Pret or something and getting a coffee and sitting with a book, because that is, in my experience, the least social anxiety setting.
No, I know what you mean.
Anxiety. And then like I kind of like, I did that and like worked myself up to like taking myself out to a proper restaurant. We've been to Holy Carrot.
Oh, I love Holy Carrot.
Oh God. Well, they gifted me the meal. So I'd been there before, and then we got an email like, "Oh, we'd love Helen to come for her solo meal." And I was like, yes, I will. Made a big, like, like dressed up really nice. Then we get there, and they're like, "Oh, we've got the table for 2." And I was like, no.
That was not what this was.
Yeah, this is not what it was. And then like everything was set for 2, and I was like, oh, they were like, is your friend coming? I was like, it's just me. And they'd sat me, like I was sitting here and there was this like massive birthday table of 12 like right in front of me, and I was like, this is horrendous. This is horrendous. Like, you knew I was gonna come in by myself.
You invited me for a solo thing.
They like awkwardly had to take away the like other person, like the play, and I was just like, this is humiliating. I mean, it was fine because I actually had a really good time, and
I love it
really
there.
lovely, but it did make me laugh. I was like, this is the worst. Now I'm just facing all these happy people.
That would upset me, like facing a table of people. I know. Do you like people watching? Because that must have been...
Yeah, I do like people watching, to be fair. And I did have my book and I had my headphones, but I took my headphones off because I like wanted to be a bit more involved in the date, you know.
Yeah, when you go like dining alone, especially for a PR thing, how do you film yourself? Do you also have like a little tripod?
No, I usually... God, I know you do. That's bold. I literally am like a balance it kind of girl. Like I'll have like a cocktail or a drink and I'll like balance it on the thing and I'll push it far enough.
Yeah. It's like on the edge of the table.
Yeah, so I can see it, but people can't see that I'm also filming
Oh,
myself.
they often see. But my most viral video is actually at Holy Carrot. It got like 8 million views and shared by E-News, and it's because I have my tripod out.
E-News.
Yeah, I know, right? And then people were
Right.
sending me the link, being like, "Oh, did you know E-News is sharing your video?" But it was literally because I had my tripod up, and someone was like pouring this really gorgeous, like champagne on top of sorbet,
And then you're in the background.
No, there are two guys in the background whispering and just being like. Just like giving me the side eyes, and then I like captioned it. It was
That's
around.
not very vegan of them.
What? No, like I think they were just having a bit of a giggle because it is weird to see, isn't it? You're like out for this lovely restaurant dinner, and then there's this girl over here being like, "Ooh, look."
Did you have a ring light and everything as well?
No, I didn't have a ring light. That would have been a bit much, but it was like, no, I have some shame. But yeah, it was just so funny, and it was around the time when Taylor Swift released what's the song where it's like, "Oh my God, she's insane. She wrote a song about."
Oh my God.
I bet you think about me.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was like, "Oh my God, she's insane," is what I did it to. So,
No, I think I actually see it. I think I was one of the 8 million that was saying this. Sounds
oh,
familiar.
good. Yeah. It was very fun. I was like, yeah, it went viral with a Taylor Swift song. I was like, she's probably seen this.
She probably has, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrolling through TikTok. Although I do wonder if Taylor
has a
Swift
team.
actually, if it's actually Taylor Swift, because people get like, I'm sure there was one time like where she was just liking like everything, like everyone. I mean, if I was Taylor Swift, if I was famous, I would do that all the time.
Yeah, she
I
does
would
do it
I
all
would
the
just
time.
comment on people's things to freak them out. I'd love that, especially if it was something unrelated to me,
What, like just a
like
cat
just a random video, and I would comment on it, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, Taylor Swift!"
The
They have
power you
so much
have.
power, yeah. For real.
I mean, to be honest, if you commented on one of my videos, I'd be like, oh my God. Like, even yesterday, you were liking them, and I was like, oh, she's found me.
Yeah, it's because I followed you, and then like when they come up more,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh hey,
I was like, as it should.
I can't scroll past them because that's awkward.
Yeah, you're
Although
seeing me today.
they-
It was- So, yeah, thank you for coming on and being like, so you wear leather.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm saying I eat mayo, so I'm dragging you down with me.
The mail was an accident, I swear.
Shall we talk about therapy a bit?
Yeah, we'll talk about therapy. Oh, group therapy tonight, actually, so this is quite fitting.
So that's actually really cute. So when you go to group therapy, I was watching your vlog yesterday and I thought like, oh, you're going to do a Zoom, but it's actually in person, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
It's very nice.
So this is the first time that, I've done therapy in person, haven't done it for years and years, but this is the first time that this group since COVID has been able to like get together, and they've always been doing it on Zoom, and so yeah, this is the first time.
Zoom's horrible.
Zoom, yeah, I know. I was so scared when I was going to this first group therapy thing because I didn't know who was going to be there. I didn't know what the general setting was. It was supposed to be like patient led, so I was like, I don't want to have to talk that much. I just kind of want to sit in the background and like assess. But it was actually so nice, and it wasn't like stressful at all. And basically, it was just like we just talked for a bit, and then we started drawing this tree. And then
drew a tree.
Yeah. So the
What sort of tree did you draw?
I drew an oak tree, actually, specifically. But the therapy is called the Tree of Life, and it's basically like a NHS program that once you finish your therapy, so I had solo therapy like throughout this year, and then when that came to an end, my therapist put me forward to a couple of group therapy things, and this one came through. So everyone there has had like therapy for something. That's not discussed. Like we don't like go around the group and like, okay, who's suffering with what? Like, not the vibe.
I 100% thought that would be it, but no.
No, it's like I haven't discussed anything like that with anyone, but it's called the Tree of Life because basically you like discuss different things about life and then you add it to your tree in layman's terms. But it's all about hope and like resilience, and you're not focusing on the mental illness, you're focusing on like everything else in life. Kind of like in a way like what you're smiling about, like that thing I do on my Instagram is quite similar. But yeah, so you just get to go chat about your feelings and like life for a bit, and then draw a tree and have free biscuits.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And the biscuits are vegan or?
Biscuits are vegan, yeah.
Don't care anymore.
Well,
No,
they're,
I'm
not all
kidding.
vegan. They're not all vegan, but I pick the vegan ones.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Ones with
cute.
Oreos, you know?
Yeah. I hate Oreos. Anyway.
You know what? I'm so over Oreos.
Yes.
I don't know if you did it too, because when I first went vegan years and years ago, I went traveling.
Oh, yes.
And in like Thailand and everywhere.
This is what killed it for me, 100%.
And I literally, the only thing I could eat
At the
snack-wise,
7-Elevens.
was Oreos and like, I found these weird jelly things that I could eat, but I was literally just like every day ate Oreos, and then I came home and I was like, I'm so over these.
Yeah.
So over these.
And I associate them kind of a little bit of like that real deep hunger where you're just like, because that's when you turn to them. You live in hope that you're going to find something. You're You're like, no, just Oreos for dinner again.
Literally, but yes, I
Really
like,
spreading the motivation to go vegan here. Like,
yeah.
you're going to hate
There's
Oreos.
so much better out there now.
I don't know. I haven't been to Thailand.
Not in
a while.
Thailand.
Okay.
Not in Thailand. I meant in the general world. I don't know. I haven't been to Thailand ages.
Chiang Mai was great in Thailand. I don't know if you went there. Oh, you did. Every vegan goes to Thailand and then
yeah.
goes to Chiang Mai. What are your other therapy rules then?
Okay, so therapy rules for anyone that doesn't know. They probably won't know because me and my therapist coined the term.
Yeah.
But because I ended my therapy
this isn't like a global thing. This is a you thing. Yeah.
So because I ended my therapy a couple of weeks ago with my therapist, and I've moved on to the group therapy. At the end of our sessions, we were like, right, let's put in some rules, so that every week we can like aim for some targets, so it can kind of stop you from getting really sad. And obviously they're really personal to each person, but mine was like, it's like exercise, so cliche. Some of them are so cliche, it's just ridiculous. But, you know, it does help. So it's like exercise for even 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. Go for a walk a couple days a week. My favorite 2, I would say, was like the kind of re-energize is what my therapist calls it. And it's basically like 30 minutes or like 30 minutes and over a week where you kind of completely rest. And I always find resting so hard because I'm resting and I'm like...
When we say rest, how do you force rest? Like, it's not scrolling through TikTok.
Not scrolling through TikTok. It's, for me, it's like crocheting, or which I'm trying to start doing again, or watching a film and like trying to actually relax, because I find myself getting so tired and thinking I'm relaxing because I'm just laying down, and not actually relaxing because my brain is like moving 100 miles an hour. So it's like you have to take that 30 minutes to actually actively stop your brain from thinking about everything in the world.
It's one of those things as well where it's like, don't think brain is like,
oh yeah, I'm going to things. But that's why I do like crochet, where I can't get it like right, and I'm like trying to stab the crochet thing, and I'm like, so I just get more frustrated at that. But
what are you crocheting at the moment?
So I made these gloves last year, these little green gloves, and I'm trying to recreate them because it's the only thing I can make. But I'm trying my hardest to make like little beige ones, like they're fingerless gloves.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Kind of like arm warmer vibes.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Oh, and then the last thing is make a meal a week, which sounds ridiculous because you should be making way more than one meal a week. But the meal is like make a new
recipe.
Like recipe, rather than like just the cheap, easy like noodles or whatever my like depression meal is that week.
I got really upset yesterday when you were like, my go-to comfort meal is like a wrap, and I was like, ugh. Like,
I'm obsessed with this wrap, honestly. Don't know why. My friends always like, what are you having for dinner? What are you having for lunch? And I'll be like, don't ask, because I know. It's fine. It's got vegan chicken and salad and vegan mayo and tzatziki and stuff. It's delicious, but I'm like, I do need to cook something.
Yeah. Well, actually, that sounds like quite a complex wrap. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, that's not a comfort meal. Like mashed potato is
yes,
like a comfort
meal. That's more like my comfort lunch. But even mashed potato and like other things, that still requires more effort than making this wrap. So for me, I see that as like a meal. As my wrap is just like, I can't be bothered, I'm going to shove things together. And that's my therapy rules.
Yeah, no, I found them really interesting. And did you say the tidying room one?
Oh, my tidying the room one.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's a hard one for me to stick to. Really hard.
Was it 30 minutes every week?
30 minutes every week, yeah. Or to be honest, it was actually fortnightly. I needed to go into my wardrobe because my wardrobe is disgusting. Yeah, it's actually just a pile of clothes.
Yeah.
And every 2 weeks I have to go through that, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like opening Narnia, I'm telling you. Everything falls out.
Do you ever find being an influencer helps with keeping things tidy? Because that's the biggest motivation for me. That, or if I'm lucky enough to be having sex with someone and they're coming over and I'm like, oh, got to tidy. But it's either that or I'm shooting in my room and being like, oh, got to tidy it up.
Yeah, for sure. Like, even like just vlogging myself tidy, like being a part of it also.
You have to make it be work, right?
I have to make it be work, otherwise I will not do it.
If I film a montage, I'm going to tidy.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely helps. But the problem is I'm so lazy that I will, if I am filming and I don't want it to be in, I'll just shove everything to the other side so it doesn't keep
Oh yeah,
tidy.
I've done that
like
before. I love that.
Move it around so no one can see.
And then you have to film at a different angle. You're like, oh, we're all coming over here
literally.
now.
God, what like?
Messy girl to messy girl. Yeah. Okay, I think we do need to wrap up. But this has been a joy. I don't even know what we've spoken about. It was a journey.
To try and chapter it or whatever you're going to do.
Oh, I love that. That's actually my favourite part, watching it back. And I watch it back on double speed after I've uploaded it to YouTube because I can't deal with normal speed.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk quite fast, I think. So
I know, this can be so fun. Okay, well, thank you for coming on. And thank you everyone for watching. Like, subscribe. Lucas, help me out again.
Yeah, you got all of them.
Review.
Oh, yeah, review.
Yeah, he's useless as well. We all are. Wonderful. And share. Spread the news to all your friends. Really appreciate it.
thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's been a joy. Bye.